It's the first Friday in the month of August, but of course, we're just getting the new month started. So effectively, until Monday, when we start the full business and markets week in the second month of the third quarter. Hello, everyone. Welcome to your Frontier opening bell. I am boosting them off for you. And you can see how the Frontier African stock market wobbled yesterday in line with some of the developed markets around the world. We checked yesterday evening, with the exception of the London FTSE and a few others, the markets were generally weak, as it were. So you look through the Nigerian stock market, the NGX, the BRVM, the EGX 30, which is the Egyptian stock index, main stock index, finishing off its own market week. Thursday, 0.06%. The Nairobi was down nearly 1.5%. The GSC also fell 1.08%, with the exception of markets such as Zimbabwe, Botswana, and a few others, largely very negative Thursday across Frontier Africa as far as the stock market is concerned. So let's just take that aside and step into some headlines just to get you prepared for the weekend, as it were. Now, let's touch on this one of these big stories in East Africa. We've seen a couple of earnings, by the way. We'll delve more into that next week. But first, let's get in with the directors or former directors of the AfDB from Chase Bank, which has been in liquidation, still facing roughly 3.5 million shillings in fines after the appeal of a court decision failed. We'll see with the end of that. It's not over yet. We expect this to go to the highest level, as it were. KNC reported its headline inflation for the month of July is expected to fall to 4.3%. Let's see how that will take place. But if you go a little bit further to the north, you find Ethiopia being in the headlines since the start of the week, talking about its deal with the IMF, additional $3.5 billion coming through over the next 4 years. Then you got the World Bank IDA making additional billions of dollars into the coffers for Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. That brings the total to roughly $7 billion that will be available to Prime Minister Abiy to pursue his recent economic and ongoing financial markets reform. In the meantime, there was a very important, very well-attended economic conference yesterday where the Ethiopia and Italy signed a new deal, 25 million euros, the money on the table to support Ethiopia's green economy and sustainability. That's also some good news for this week. So Ethiopia has been in the news, as it will. Of course, remember the flotation of the country's currency on Monday officially. Centum back in Kenya has been able to buy UK funds 37.5% stake in Akira Geothermal. That's the part of the expansion of these managed funds and, of course, private equity investment into the geothermal business in Kenya. Let's get on to see what's moving the needle in West Africa. Of course, all eyes were on Nigeria around the world on Monday with the first day of the nationwide protests against socioeconomic hardships, corruption, bad governance, whatever it is in the poll. All that in the news, as it were. Reports saying at least nearly 24 people are dead, including at least one security official. And then you've got billions of naira being lost in terms of damages and stolen property, touts and rioting, and mostly in the northern part of the country, resulting in looting and a few things like that. So all that in the news this morning. The stock market, however, finished off on the downside. You saw that earlier. But we've got some good news in spite of all that. Protest issue in Nigeria, with the AfDB board of directors approving a fresh $500 million for Nigeria to support its electricity sector, while the World Bank also restructures Nigeria's $350 million existing loan for 7 solar power projects across 7 universities across the country. That's also some good news for Nigeria from the World Bank and the IMF. That's some news we can use. In the meantime, bank executives have had a meeting with the president himself, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, regarding the one further clarifications, as it were, on the 70% that's approved by the Senate as the windfall tax on the FX profits for full year 2023. In Senegal, the team of African Energy Chamber, led by NG Ayuk, were boots on the ground for a working visit earlier in the week with the authorities in Senegal for the country's energy cooperation. And of course, the AfDB's team, led by Executive Director Dakote, was also in Liberia, next door, for a meeting with the new Liberian government. Is part of getting to understand the new socio-economic policies, direction of the new administration in Monrovia. The AfDB team got that. Dakote is in charge of a number of countries within West Africa, including Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Liberia as well. And finally, Burkina Faso's public sector wage bill is stable around 9% of the country's GDP, according to the latest data. That could also be the same for other countries, the neighbors, such as Mali and Niger. So let me step into Southern Africa with some of the headlines. Afreximbank and South Africa have signed the terms for a $1.4 billion facility. That's good news for the company in industrial manufacturing activity in South Africa. In neighboring Zimbabwe, Strive Masiyiwa's Cassava Tech is set to launch its own cassava artificial intelligence. It's a new business horizon for Strive, who's the brain behind Econet Wireless, which is listed on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. And Glencore, news out of the UK, says Glencore's former head of oil has been charged for corruption by the UK Office for Serious Fraud. And a court in South Africa has kicked out an appeal by former Chief Financial Officer of Tongass Hewlett, Monroe, appealing the 6 million rand fine imposed on him by the GSC for mishandling the financial statements of the company. And finally, in Southern Africa, the shareholders of a Discam, that listed pharmaceutical chain in South Africa on the GSC, is asking the shareholders or the directors why there's a 0% of black top management on the company. The great questions. So that was at the annual general meeting in the week. Let's finish off in North Africa with Morocco looking at getting support from French Aegis Rail to expand the speed rail that connects Kentra with Marrakesh within the country. Aegis Rail from France will bring in a number of partners to expand that rail network and get it a whole lot better. Egypt's agric and electricity ministers are meeting together to discuss how to use solar power solutions for poultry farms and businesses in the North African country. And of course, ministers in Egypt are also looking to revitalize the country's cotton industry, while for Moroccans who live abroad, CIH Bank has offered code 212 if they want to do banking business in Morocco. They're offering that code to open accounts, to do transfers and everything else. You may just want to check that out. And that's it for today. Friday, the 2nd of August. I am Bosi Numafai. Have a great weekend, everyone. And I'll see you back bright and early on Monday.